All right, everybody, come on in. Happy Sunday to you. Good morning to you. For anybody new here, hi, I am Maggie. Maggie, a substitute teacher. You may know me for my cooking channel. I make food and femininity content, and I'm also a follower of the late great Kevin Samuels. And so, whenever his channel has new content, I like to come and give you all my reaction as an older woman hoping to teach the young. I see you all coming in here. Hello, James Brown. He says, much love and respect from Minneapolis. I was just there. I was just there to see Sarah Groves. It was lovely. The people were really nice. And Endless, the spokesperson, is here saying, hello, Maggie. Hello to you. All right, everyone. So, what I'm going to react to today, the Kevin Samuels channel had an episode. And if you see me looking over here, I have my notes, my clips. And it was called The Godfather Exposes the Big Lie. So, of course, all of us want to know what is the big lie. So, I have some clips. This was a good one. I may not cover everything, but I'm going to try and give you all my perspective. For anybody new here, in 2021, the Wives Club was started when I booked a session with the late, great Kevin Samuels. And I'm determined to keep his name in the algorithm because he changed my life. The session wasn't for me. I always like to say I am happily average. But I was always convicted whenever he would say, where are the older women to teach the young? And he said that often in this episode as well. Pardon me, I'm a boy mom. I was married young, married for 10 years, and loved being married. But I always raised my hand to say, college and corporate America, I did buy into the modern woman mindset and was probably more competitive than I should have been supportive. And so, unfortunately for me, the marriage did end in divorce. He filed. And so I learned a very painful lesson. And so, second time around, I'm now in a long term with a very traditional man. And he said, you have to finish what you start because I have two children. And then hopefully, when they're up and out, it'll be my turn. They're 15 and 17. So we'll see. Maybe you'll be seeing less of Maggie in the next few years, and that'll be a good thing. So anyway, I want to pay it forward by telling what I've done right as well as what I've done wrong. So let's go ahead and get into it. Hope you all are doing well. And I want to start with my reaction. All right. So in the beginning, Kevin Samuels was talking about, because men are so logical. He said that a lot of the confusion that's in this space with relationships, men thought or used to think that if we just told women the truth, if we just gave women the information, they would make the same logical decisions. Well, unfortunately, that is not the case because we are very emotional creatures and something in us, Kevin said it in this episode about us having a rebellious spirit. For some women, not all, not all, not all, not even myself. I don't have that fight in me. I don't have that dog in me, like my man says. I don't have that where I have to have the last word, where even though I'm all the way wrong, I am going to argue you down. This is the hill I'm going to die on. But ladies, if you have gotten that feedback, or if you've been told that you're difficult or argumentative, that could be the reason why you're alone. So, the big lie, let's go ahead and rip the band aid off, is that women have thought, women have said, women have been told that the reason why you're single is there ain't no good men. And, Kevin Samuels was the king of the statistics, right? Facts, data, and statistics. And he went through all of the numbers. And my man even does the same thing. When we look at salaries and we look at degrees and we look at relationships, men in the community are doing just fine without us, ladies. So if we want relationship, we have to humble ourselves and realize it's not a shortage of men. It's that the men that are marriage minded are not seeing wives in us. So again, if you want something traditional, if you want to be spoken for, if you want a man to claim you as his own, we have to give them what they want. And I know this is very difficult for a lot of women to understand, but the truth is, ladies, um, like my man tells me, they do the asking. They are the ones that ask. So unless you want to buy the rings, unless you want to get down on one knee unless you want to find a man to get on your program. Unfortunately for you, if we want to be in the type of relationship that has lasted for generations and thousands of years, we have to adjust. Okay, so that's the big lie. That's what's keeping women single. Kevin also talked about these degrees, and I've had my rant about college, and I do come from academia. I have a couple of degrees. I never talk about it. That's just what I do. I do work. I work in tech. But for all of us with our big jobs and our big degrees, the money isn't there. We are not as well off as we want people to think that we are, as we want men to think how we don't need them. I can do bad all by myself. We have debt. We can't even fund our own lifestyle. So then when we get tired of faking it, a lot of us want a man to come in and rescue us. And they're not going to do that, ladies. You get one shot. You get one shot to get this right. I'll share with you all a couple things my man told me. Um, so many ladies want that high value man, and having one is great, but it is like holding on, like my man says, to a running freight train, and you're on the outside. They move the way that they move. They are not asking your opinion. You get on the program or you get left. So, what he said is that so many women, even if you had a man that made the exact same amount of money as you did, and I'm not saying that you need to do 50-50, but let's say you made 50,000 and he made 50,000. Just having a man, there is so much value. And if you don't want one, fine. But having a man, the value of a man, the way that they think, the way that they problem solve, the way that they are brave, the way that they are decisive, these are such admirable qualities that are important. My man was over here yesterday, and apparently my engine, there's an engine cover. I don't even know what it is. He said, I brought a cover for your engine. They wanted to give me one at the dealership. He said, I'll do it. I don't even know what it is. He came over, went to the garage and put it on there. He was like, while I was out there, your keypad for the garage door, all of those, I cleaned them up. I reset the password. I did all this stuff. I didn't even know it needed tending to. So again, ladies, and he does very well for himself, but I really want, especially our young women, to realize that what's going to make you happy in the long term is going to take time to build. And a lot of you are wasting time that you don't have, thinking that you don't need a man. Then you get to my age, I'll be 50 next year, and you are looking at the wall, and even worse, what's on the other side of the wall that we don't want to talk about. All right. Oh, sorry, y'all. Touching the wrong screen. Okay, let's continue on. So we talked about degrees, how, especially in our community, we love enrolling, right? We love saying that we've got all these degrees, but we are actually the most enrolled. And ladies, I've had the college rant already. Just make sure if you are going to school, it is a career path that you can find work immediately after you graduate, and it's going to pay you a living wage, or at least as much as you're taking out in student loans, if you take out any student loans at all. Hopefully not. Debt is very unattractive. I don't have any student loan debt. I worked while I was in college. I lived at home with my parents. And then for graduate school, the company that I was working for had 100% tuition reimbursement. So there are ways to do it. All right. So we talked about the paycheck. So now to the point where I hope to be helpful. I see you all coming in. Thank you all so much for watching on Instagram as well as TikTok. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that on TikTok for the compliment. And this is my life's work. I Lucy and I teach classes for ladies, and I really believe older women, I feel like it's a calling, but I do believe that we have a responsibility to help the younger women. But unfortunately, so many of us, because of that pride, because of that ego, we're unwilling to say what we got wrong and help women avoid those mistakes. So that's what Kevin talked a lot about in this episode, how, ladies, your mothers failed you. Thank you, Laverne. Oh, so good to see you. Shout out to Laverne, veteran in the house. I don't know if you know, but our oldest has decided to join the Marines. So Marcus at 17 is in their early entry or delayed entry program. So shout out to y'all. I'll be a future Marine mama one day. Okay. So, ladies, here's the thing. Kevin Samuel said in this episode that your mother's failed you. And what does he mean by that? I lived a sheltered life, and I'm very proud of my very simple upbringing, traditional nuclear family, immigrant from Africa. And so I was raised to be a wife. So, seeing how a lot of modern women are moving now, it's very foreign to me. And as soon as I was divorced and went through therapy and figured out what I did wrong, I immediately got back in another long-term relationship. These women that are out here celebrating divorces, graduating from divorces, acting like you've got all the time in the world, you don't. And I will say this, I thought a lot about what Kevin Samuel said. Ladies, if you have to ask, you are unprepared. Meaning, those of us who were raised in a traditional home, whether it was overtly done or covertly done, meaning whether it was obvious, or not, our mothers showed us how to respect a man, how to work with a man, how to support a man, how to happily serve a man, how to submit to a man. And by doing so, ladies, that's how you get what you want after you've proven yourself and earned it. And so I am very proud of the ladies who are taking our wife lessons class. We just started yesterday, but if you find yourself, and you don't have to be honest here, I'll give you a homework assignment, do it or don't. But if you find yourself trying to figure this thing out, you meet the man of your dreams and you don't know what you're doing, deer in the headlights, and you're confused and you're frustrated and you're messing up, you are unprepared. So the awareness of that and knowing that I don't know everything, all this big job and big experience and big titles that I have out here is not helping me in a real relationship. So you're going to have to get on board quickly, because what Kevin Samuel said is we are all competing, right? I compete every day for my man, but you have to understand that you're competing with women who were prepared. So when I show up or someone like me shows up, all I have to do is tweak a few things to customize myself for my man, but I know how to treat a man. And if you don't, that's fine. We've got some support, but I definitely want you ladies to hear that. Detra, we got retired Marine. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear that. Please stay connected. Um, I don't know how much to say or not say, but yeah, Marcus will be working out with them. I'm very proud of him. Hello, Bert. Thank you so much for being here. So Lisa says, lady, hello, good morning to you. Black men simply need to elevate economically as a whole. They have been coddled by women for far too long, and this is a renaissance for Black women in deciding to no longer date down and attach to perpetual poverty. All right, I respectfully disagree. Thank you for your feedback. And as always, I say I support your decision to be alone or to not be in a relationship. It's totally fine. This content isn't for everyone, but I will disagree. Our men are doing very well. If our men were not doing well, why are other races of women racing to lock them down? I would ask you to ask yourself that. But I respect your decision. Let us continue. Okay, so ladies, if you do not know your mother's failed you, that's neither here nor there, but you need to not be walking through life like, everything's fine and I can just snap my fingers. I talk to a lot of women that get to 30s and 40s and they've never even had a real relationship. And I don't know what they've been doing. Maybe y'all know what they've been doing. All right. So Kevin talked about the prime years versus slowing down. And here's the thing that I want a lot of younger women to understand, because I was also very headstrong. I have a lot of energy, but we do naturally slow down as we should. All right. So you have one shot. And, when I hear that, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, that's not fair. But I asked my man, I was thinking about this, how many weddings of 40-plus-year-old women have you all ever been to? I can't think of one. So when women get into their 30s and 40s and they say, whew, now I'm tired, now I'm ready, it's too late. One of the women that I've been counseling, she is engaged in under a year. They're planning a wedding. She's 23, 24, marrying an older man. She had a thing for bad boys. And I warned her, this is going to just continue unless you decide to turn away from it. And she did, and I'm very excited. And so Lucy and I are going to go to her wedding. We're very excited about it. But what my man said is, she is at the beginning of life. All right. So, ladies and even gentlemen who might be listening, there is a time when you have everything to look forward to in front of you. And then for those of us, I'll be 50 next year, not in my prime. I have two children from marriage, but, they're about to start their life. I am on the decline. Let's just say it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like 50 is the new anything. I do take care of myself. I work hard on that, but I am a mature woman and I should carry myself as such. So if I am so fortunate to remarry, it's not going to be a big white dress church wedding. I did that the first time. So, ladies, we don't get what we want because we want it. So, when you come into a relationship on the decline and you're not in your prime, you can't expect the same treatment that a young woman who didn't waste her youth is going to be celebrated. So, you need to be grateful, like I am grateful and waiting, and work with the man on his terms, or you can be alone. That's totally fine. Hello, Dr. Steele is here. Thank you. Jessica is here. I appreciate you all coming in. What does Kristen say? I have been married 21 years. We had some bumps in the road and it was mostly my fault. I love the awareness because I was not used to being loved by a real man. I had to learn my lesson and get help from my past trauma. Thank you so much for saying that, sweetheart. I appreciate that. That's why I'm here. I could be quiet in my cul-de-sac living my life, but I really do feel a responsibility to younger women in the community and all women, because this is a modern woman thing. Bert is retired Navy. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, hello, Laverne. Thank you so much for being here. And I am so grateful for your service. Okay. Good morning, everyone. All right, let's go back to my notes. All right, so we talked about prime years versus slowing down. So, ladies, you need to have that awareness about how you're showing up in the market. And this is one thing that I wanted to say. Ladies, we should not be out here dating in our 30s and 40s. I'm sorry. I don't know what these older women are telling you, but there is a time when a young woman presents herself. That's the whole history of like the debutante and all of that. And I'm not saying we need to go back to that, but it feels weird for 40 and 50-year-old women, and I would even say in their 30s, to be out here trying to compete with women in their 20s. I already had my rant about how you should be working with your network, but it feels awkward. It feels frustrating. It feels tiresome. I'm going to say it because it's wrong. It's just wrong. And I'm going to explain to you why. But let me say thank you so much, Laverne, for the $20 super chat. So incredibly generous. I am grateful. Thank you. Val has a question. Where do you suggest young women to find men to marry? Okay, so I will answer both of these and then we'll get back to Kevin Samuel's content. So for me, I met my ex-husband. I was going to say my first husband, because I do hope to remarry at work. And I've shared with you all, I'm in a relationship, second chance with my first love. Grew up, wanted to get married young, right out of high school. He was like, I need to go sow my wild oats. So I married my college boyfriend. Now I'm back with the childhood love. But ladies, Kevin Samuels has said this, not in this episode, but when you are young, when you are in school, when you are having those first jobs out of college or in college, that is the best chance that you have to lock it down with someone you can build a life with. Why? Just the sheer numbers, right? You're in class, you're in sport, you're in activity, you're doing things, you're active. All of us who are older know that once you get into your 30s and you get into your career, you kind of settle into this routine where you want to come home, you want to be quiet, you're not trying to be out there. So that's why I don't understand, do what you want to, older ladies, but for an older woman, what I've said, that if you did not prioritize it when you were young, you did something with your time, right? So those of us, I'm going to say it, over 30, you've had a decade of doing whatever you did. You should have been making connections, maybe business connections, maybe social connections with the caliber of people that are marriage-minded, relationship-minded. You should have married friends. My man said, like, we all are communal. We live with people. We live around people. You should be asking your network. What you shouldn't do, in my opinion, you asked, is be on these apps or be in the clubs or squeezing yourself into something tight to act like you're still young when we are not, ladies. And I think we can age gracefully. So young women, you should be making friends with the caliber of men that are going to be established one day if you're going to date at your own age. If you're going to date older, then your father, your uncle, your brother, your trusted network of men should have an older man vetted for you who's ready right now, who's ready for a wife. That's what I would say. All right. Lindbergh says, I see women in their 50s competing with younger women in the dating scene. To me, that's embarrassing. Like, I'm a mother, and I can only imagine if my children like saw. No, absolutely. Dr. Steele says, when I was in college, I didn't have much luck with the ladies. Yes, ladies, my ex and my man, they're all, tech people. They're nerds, just like me. After college, my luck started to change, but I ended up taking in women who approached me and not the ones I wanted because I was lonely. Well, I always feel like I don't have a place to speak to men. I'm not a man, but thank you for sharing that. But ladies, the men that we want, they do the asking, so they do the choosing. All right, let us continue. All right, so thank you for the support. All right, so we talked about prime years versus slowing down. And, the sad thing is, ladies, when we get to these older years, ask me how I know. All the women in my age range, they're trying to exit the job force. They're trying to take these early retirement packages. They're trying to find somebody to rescue them from themselves. But the problem is, it's too late. And you're older and tired. I'll speak for myself. And you're not really willing or able to put in the work that it's going to take to have the outcome that you want. And my man said, like, if you let it get to 45, you got 20 years to build a nest egg. And that's frightening for a lot of women. Believe me, I talk to them. So I'm so glad that I prioritize relationship. So young ladies, hear me. Please do the same if it's important to you. All right. So still in the monologue, Kevin Samuels talked about how men search for femininity. And he said something in this episode that really struck me. He said, when a man is ready, and we talked about this in the wife lessons about the difference between husbands and all other men. And it doesn't make other men a bad person, but husbands move with intention. Husbands have different characteristics. Like, they will sit you down and they will say, I'm not trying to waste time. This is what I'm looking for. My man sat me down, second date, and said, this is what I'm going to do for you, but you have to finish what you started. This is my timeline. And we can accept or we can exit. And he said, when a man is ready, when he finds a feminine woman, he makes his move. And ladies, that's the cheat code in this modern era. So many women have been raised to be independent, have been raised to be part of the workforce. And so you are more masculine than maybe you know that you are. I had to soften up a lot of edges. But the one thing that men cannot replace is that femininity. And like my man says, ladies, you're already feminine. You just have to stop fighting it. You got to work with that ego and that rebellious spirit and whatever it is that makes you say, no, but this is the hill I'm going to die on. Because a lot of times you see a man, and what I tell the women is, by the time you see him, he's already been watching you and categorized you as such. So many women make the mistake, and it's ego and it's masculine. Oh, when I see him, oh, I'm going to turn it on. He hasn't seen the likes of this. By then, it's too late. All right. SGM is agreeing. He said you have to compliment. Absolutely. Every man is looking for his first lady. Kristen says, I would love to build with you on this process. Let me know what you mean, my dear. I'm not sure I understand. Hello, Kyle. You all are too kind. Hello, SGM. Dr. Steele says, now being the late bloomer that I am, I know I have the power to or ability to attract, but it was me who limited my ability. That's so true, ladies. And here's the thing, this is what we're going to talk about in the wife archetypes class, is that men go through different stages of life. Being a boy mom has opened my eyes more than anything. And that's why that clip that went viral about men who see themselves in younger men, but we women, we think we're young forever. We see ourselves as younger women. Men go through phases, but ladies, the way to get the keys to the kingdom is to put your support, your loyalty, your faith, your trust behind a good man early, and be his support system, be his ride or die. I'm going to tell you what my man said yesterday. He was over here watching football. Every man wants a woman that he can kiss on the forehead and leave her the keys to the safe, and a son who he can say, take care of the house until I come back, while he goes out to battle. All right. Now that's in wartime, but today men fight that good fight every day. Everybody wants something from them. There's a problem to solve. There's always something. So if you can be that trusted woman in a man's life, no man picks a wife to have it destroyed. That's why they take so long. All right. Jessica says, I'm in a relationship now with my partner that opened up so much about myself. All right. Y'all know how I feel about the word partner, but I'm going to leave it alone. SGM is agreeing. Oh, thank you for the salute. You're too kind. And he says, yes, a man is raised to be the provider and take responsibility. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And Kevin Samuel said, one feminine woman is enough. So, ladies, what does that mean? You have to be ready. You have to be ready before he sees you. And again, if you don't know what you're doing, you're already behind. So if you think you're going to have your fun and nobody's going to know and it's not going to catch up with you, believe me, it will catch up with you. All right. So we've talked about that. We've talked about how with all this money that we say that we have in Boss Babes, we don't even have enough money to be single. Now, there are some celebrity women that open their mouths and say, oh, come on in, the water is fine. But for most of us who, like I say, happily average, we need a man to age with. We need a man to see our blind spots. We need each other. I do think we're better together, but we weren't raised and taught how to work with a man. So I would say, ladies, another thing you can do, find the married women in your community, reach out to the women that are in relationships that you admire. You can get advice from anybody. Who am I? I'm just a mom on the internet. But I caution women, I'm not going to talk about any other content creators, but just ask yourself if you would trade places with them. Ask yourself if you want the life that they have. And then also, for those of you all who watch my content, ask yourself if the men that you admire are in their communities. I am shocked that we have so many men in my community, and I welcome it. Welcome it. They keep us safe. They keep us protected, and I run my content by the men that I respect. So I'm just very grateful for that. But if you find yourself in these spaces, socially, online, in person, and you look to the left and you look to the right, and it's nothing but women, that's a sign and a half, right? Lori says, I feel like in modern society, showing you our wife material is cooking and cleaning for a man. So much more than that. That's a part of it. But yes, I mean, but you need to cook and clean for yourself. So a lot of that is life skills. But do you know how to be unproblematic for a man? Do you know how to study your man and anticipate his needs? Do you know how to be an asset and not a liability? Do you know how to create an environment that is peaceful for him physically in the home, but also even in a virtual space? When your man is around you, can he drop his shoulders? Let me give you all a wonderful compliment. We don't live together. I've never lived with anyone I'm not married to. My man came over yesterday towards the end of the stream. He was watching football. He just kind of put his arms back and he leaned back on the recliner and he was like, you know what? I really like it here. That is a huge compliment, ladies. And I wasn't doing anything but just being being me. But my presence calms him down. All right. Bobby Bishop says Maggie is the most beautiful woman online. You are too kind, but thank you. Thank you so much. Jessica says, I truly appreciate this live. I wish I had it back in high school in the early 20s. Absolutely. Well, never too late, right? Here we go. Thank you all so much for the support. All right. Another thing that Kevin Samuel said in yesterday's episode, no, 2 days ago, was a lot of you women, unfortunately, who are unprepared, you didn't have the example at home, and not to offend anyone, but he said it's because your mom couldn't keep your dad around. Now, I don't get in other people's relationships, but ladies, just consider the source, right? If you have women in your family, if you have women in your ear, your mom, your aunties, if all they do is bash men, if all they say is men ain't you know what, and talk badly about men, after a certain point, you have to wonder, if I feel this way uncomfortable around them, I wonder what it was like to live with them, to be in relationship with them. Oftentimes, we don't ask men for their side of the story. And because men are told early and often to suck it up, they're not going to complain. They just move on with life. So you may have a huge part of the story missing. And Another thing that Kevin Samuel said in this episode is a lot of older women are more vested in younger women feeling their pain, validating their experience, than helping other women. Whether you believe in scripture or not, I believe the older women are supposed to teach the young. But if you get around the older women in your family and all they do is woe is me, it's all about me. If mama ain't happy, nobody's taking care of me, that is not helping you serve the man that you want to happily submit to, because you're going to get around him and then you're going to be like, what have you done for me lately? And he's going to be like, all right, here we go. And you'll be left alone. All right. All right. Oh, Werder says, I appreciate the content. Thank you so much. Lindbergh says, Maggie, I'm reminded of the teachings my mother gave my older sisters. Yes. And ladies, here's an example of it, and this may seem harsh to you, but when I remember being young, 7, 8, 9, and my mom would give me the tray of glasses to go serve my dad or other men and show me how to study him. And, your who's going to cook for your children if you can't cook, right? Or, nobody will have you if you don't know how to do this. That's how we were raised. And it seemed harsh, but I was absolutely prepared. And then, like I said, all I had to do was tweak it for my husband, or hopefully husband to be. All right. So let's stop blaming the men if we can't keep a man. Or you can do whatever you want to. But if you find yourself starting over and over, you are the common denominator, ladies. So it's time to say, what am I doing wrong? What feedback have I gotten that I have not addressed, that I think, oh, he just couldn't handle a strong woman. He just didn't know how to put me in my place. I've heard it all, ladies. It's foolishness. I'll tell you what my man said. A man's life is already hard. He's not going to choose a relationship that makes it even harder. All right. So the other thing that he said, I love this. He said, the women who brag are not happy. We're talking about this in the wife class. A lot of the qualities about being a wife, there's a humility, because it really is a calling. If you're not humble, if you got to come through the door and all eyes on me, and I woke up like this and I'm a 10 and look at my business and look at this and that, and I'm not a doctor or a professional therapist or anything like that, but ladies, it's so much more beautiful when other people compliment you. I like to think that I'm very loyal, but I would never say that. My man has actually said, yeah, babe, there's nobody as loyal as you. And you take those little wins and it's kind of like, okay, the work that I'm doing, that is the reward. But I would just watch these women that are saying, oh, come on in, the water is fine. It's getting ready to be the holidays, and a lot of them are going to find themselves kind of like forgotten and alone, because people are going to want to celebrate with their families, which is normal. All right. So he says the women who brag aren't really that happy. The women that are happy are the ones that are building their family and their legacy with a man. Now, again, if you want to be alone, or if you want to be with a woman, or if you want to do whatever you want to do, that's fine. This message is for those women that are left that still want a traditional relationship. But I love that. Kevin Samuels used to say, I always used to watch his replays. I was never really in the comments, but he used to say, the good ones are quiet, because we're living our lives. I mean, you all see me here, I'm cooking and doing other stuff, but just because you don't see it, don't think that it's not out there, because there will be a time when I won't be here. I'm here until I'm not. But the minute my man says, all right, babe, you finished what you started, let's go, there's just going to be less of Maggie, because that is the priority. All right. So whether you watch this now or the replay, I hope that's helpful for you. We have Dark Cloud saying, hello, Maggie. I'm a single woman studying the role of a wife because I desire marriage. Thank you for your teachings. You're so welcome. We just started our wife's classes yesterday, and it's going great. I'm really happy to hear that. And I'm glad that there are women that are opening up their mouths to say, I do want to be married. I do want to be a wife. In this modern culture, it's almost like you're shamed for wanting that. And that's very foreign to me. The way we grew up, it was almost expected. We celebrated marriage. All right. So the next thing that Kevin said, of course, ladies, the men are doing fine. They don't need us. They choose us. And again, because they do the asking They have the power position in relationships, just like you have the power position in who you give your body to. Some of you all exercise it, some of you all don't, but that's just what it is. So, because men do the asking, they have their preferences. And Kevin has talked about this, and you all know this is a soft spot for me because I struggle with my weight. I like to eat. But a lot of women now have let themselves go physically. We are just larger than we need to be, not taking care of ourselves. And what that signifies, ladies, is that we don't prioritize what men want. All right. So in this example, it's about weight. It could be about weight. It could be about hair. It could be about makeup. It could be about nails. It could be about all the things that women tell me that I need to do differently. And I'm telling you now, like I told you before, my man likes it. So if you have a man or if you want a man and he says, cover up a little bit. I don't want you showing all of that. Or he says, I really like your hair. Or he says, you know what? You're getting a little bit soft. I'm kind of like marshmallow, like I was told. You're getting a little bit soft. If he opens his mouth to say that and relationship is important to you, why would you not heed that? What we're basically saying, ladies, is I want what I want when I want it, and I don't care what anybody thinks. That's fine, but just understand when you're alone down the line how you got here. All right. So I like to say the same way we get on board for our bosses at work, the same way we go through that TSA screening when you want to get on an airplane, the same way you go and get your passport if you want to go to that destination. There are just requirements in life for the outcomes that we want. And why is it that we're willing to do that in every other area? But the man who could be devoted to us for life, protect and provide for us, we look at him like your opinion doesn't count. I just think that's incredibly disrespectful. Hello, Killis is here. Lindbergh says humility, femininity, and grace wins the race. Absolutely. Thank you for agreeing, Werder. I appreciate you all so much. All right, so let's continue on. So if we want a man, we give the man what he wants. That's the bottom line. Get mad if you want to. But the cheat code is, ladies, that's how you get what you want. All right. We also talked about the competition. Kevin Samuels said other women will take our men. And there was a woman in here who said that, our men are not worth dating down for. What you consider garbage, I think our men are amazing. I'm inspired by them every day. We have amazing men in our community, but they're not loud and kicking down the door and saying all eyes on me like the women are. So again, your ego, your pride is telling you, if I don't see it, it must not exist. The truth is, if you don't see it, it's because it's already seen you. All right. Gillis says, very profound lesson right there. There are requirements for positions we are looking for, but we are not disciplined enough to do it. And we make excuses for it. Absolutely. So Kevin Samuels was encouraging women to have the courage to change your mind. Ladies, what I teach is life skills. This is personal development. Even though I've been in a long-term relationship over a decade, after a decade of being married, I've been in 2 relationships. I continue to want to get better. You can course correct, right? If you get feedback, if you're not getting the outcome that you want, now it may be too late for the big white dress church wedding that you want. It may be too late for children. It may be too late for marriage at all. But if you are not spoken for, if you are not claimed by a man, if you do not have anybody emotionally invested in you and you want that, you can change, but you have to humble yourself and realize what you've been doing wrong. And I think that does take courage. And I agree with Kevin on that. He talked about the femininity and the mindset is what is attracted to men, right? Men like what they like, right? There's types, people like whatever package it comes in, but that femininity should be consistent. Ladies, there's nothing about us that should remind our men that he's around the boys, that you're like another dude. You shouldn't be as loud, as vulgar, as smelly, as big, as competitive, any of that stuff. He's going to look at you like a challenge and not like a flower, if that's what you want. And Dr. Steele says, and fellas, there are good women out there. Yes, absolutely. Oftentimes we're just quiet, but there's some good girls left. All right. So this is something that Kevin Samuel said. There was a lot of talk in this episode. One woman called in about her man that was constantly cheating. That was a whole situation. But I want to talk about this because I know this one is an elephant in the room. And ladies, you may not like what I have to say. However, you need to think about what your deal breakers are. And you need to think about that in advance. If you require intimate exclusivity, this is a conversation that needs to be had when you are being vetted if you are with a man that is marriage minded. All right. What I see is a lot of women just like, oh, I'm just so happy to be here. And they don't have the real conversations. All right. I'll give you all a little bit of story time. My man is a VP for a big company, so he's usually the senior at events. And before the pandemic, he used to travel a lot for conferences and whatnot. And he would tell me how, the secretaries and different women, when it's open bar, or whatever, how they get a little loose and, oh, can you walk me to my room and, make sure that I wake up in the morning. And if I allowed myself, my mind would just go there. What about this? What about that? I made the decision. I am going to worry about what I can control. All right. Your decision may be different, but what you can't do is act like, oh my gosh, if you're not prepared. If you want a certain caliber of man, there are things that come with that. It's not for everybody. But what I will tell the women is every time your man returns to you, every time your man calls you, contacts you, is an opportunity to give him another reason to continue to choose you. So that's what I do. Now, women that are constantly worried about what other people are doing, I think it takes the focus off your own self-development. It's, in my opinion, another area of pride and selfishness because it's saying, oh, don't worry about me. I'm perfect over here. You need to fix this, this, and this. My experience has been when I work on getting better myself, it attracts people to me. Instead of me hitting you over the head and saying, what have you done for me lately? I make every experience with me a good one. I make sure that I'm pleasant. I make sure that I'm warm and welcoming. I make sure that I take care of him and show him respect to the absolute best ability. And it's been over a decade. Hello, Cooking with Sir. Yes. Warder says, I'm German and Nigerian. You like Black women, but you've been alone because of the caliber of women are available. It's unfortunate. And ladies, yes, the men are speaking and we can do better if we want to. All right. So we talked about the weight. We talked about moving like prioritizing relationships like our life depends on it. That's the number one thing for me. And I've had really big jobs. I've been an executive, big salaries and all of that. But what you realize, especially as you age, what really matters is the relationships that you've built. Because all those other trinkets, all those other trips, all those other gold star moments, all the promotions, all the big bonuses, they fade in time. But a relationship that you've really put time and effort into will continue to pay dividends long after all that other stuff fades. Kevin also said, all is fair in love and war. So ladies, again, you can get mad and stick your bottom lip out and say, excuse me, it's not fair. But again, write this on your forehead or write it somewhere you will remember. The men do the choosing. All right. And if you don't think that should be the case, then you buy the ring. Then you propose. Then you join the workforce and work until you're 65 and 70. Right? You find a man to get on your program. You find a man to be, like Kevin said in this episode, the wind beneath your wings. You can have it your way, Burger King. But ladies, what you can't do is straddle the fence, right? You can't say, I want a traditional man, but I want to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. It's not going to work that way. Brick Squad, Big Brick Squared says family is the defense of the market. Yes, the world out there is rough. It's hard. It's challenging for our men. If we are the peaceful place that they have, if we are the one less thing that they have to worry about, oh, ladies, you get the world. Believe me. Lindbergh says we have to be fit, feminine, and cooperative. Absolutely. And here's the thing, ladies. Kevin used to talk about that. And if you have any strikes against you, I'll use myself as an example. I struggle with my weight, but I am mindful of it. I just don't say, okay, you know what? I'm just big. No, I have my moments where I eat a little bit more than I should, but I exercise every day. I am aware of it. I try to be mindful and keep it top of mind. So nobody has to tell me, I know, okay, I can't just eat whatever I want to when I want to. If I let it, it would get out of control. So I stay on top of it. That's one. And then if you have other strikes against you, ladies, you have to overperform in those other areas, right? So I can't be, let's look at this, fit, feminine, and cooperative. I can't be big and masculine and unruly. It's not going to work. So if I'm not at my fittest, right? If I'm an extra large and I want to be like a medium large, I have to overperform on being feminine. I have to overperform on being cooperative. And that's what I do. I am so agreeable. No problems over here. I don't look for trouble. I don't ask questions I don't want the answer to. And I am happier than I have ever been. All right. Order says self-awareness. Yes, absolutely. I'm glad that you all agree. Okay, so moving on to the women that called in, we'll try and wrap this up. Kevin's content is so good, but basically, um, let me see. I think there was one woman the one woman from Canada who said that she had the man that was cheating left, right, and center. All right, ladies. So I've already given you my disclaimer about you got to decide what your deal breakers are. And if exclusivity is a requirement for you, then you need to say that. And you need to date the man that can give you that or marry the man that can give you that. Because, like Kevin said, men have options and they don't cheat because they don't have to. And I'm just going to leave that right there. They will tell you up front, this is what I'm doing. You either accept it or you don't, but you're not going to wrestle him to the ground to change. But the one thing I did want to say about the lady who called in and she was saying how her husband was cheating left and right, women were calling, it was just a mess. And Kevin said, that's not how these men move. Believe me, that's not how these men move. They handle their business. I don't want to know. But it gets to a point, ladies, when you have to start looking at yourself because Kevin said at the end of it, okay, he may have been a piece of you know what, but you picked him and you had 2 children with him. So a lot of the ladies who are complaining, older and younger, well, the men are bad, the men are doing this. Well, why are you accepting that? Yes, men are going to try it. Men are in this chat saying ridiculous things. You know what? You don't have to entertain that. You definitely don't have to return to that like a dog returns to its vomit. And you definitely don't have to reproduce with that. Ladies, that's something that you control. Like Kevin said, men should protect their seed. We women should protect our womb. And that's going to be a mark on you. You're going to have to explain that. And I've talked about this, I regret the mistakes that I made in my relationship, but I am so grateful that I picked a man who's an amazing father. And I've shared with you all, my ex-husband, the boys live with their dad now since they've been in high school, and then they're better for it. I was one of those women, big job, big corporate, everything. And my ex-husband comes from a military family. And look at what his sons are going to do. One going to the Marines, and I think one in the Air Force afterwards. So my point is this, ladies, even though the marriage did not last, I am so proud of the man that I chose to reproduce with. You only get one shot at this, ladies, and you're going to have to be explaining that for the rest of your life. And the man that you want when you're ready to upgrade or level up or think, Kevin was telling this woman, no man worth his salt is going to take you and explain to his colleagues why he has this woman with these illegitimate children and a runaround man. That's just chaotic. So again, you have to choose wisely. It will cost you. Or you can do what you want to. That's fine. All right. So let's see. You all are agreeing. Thank you for the support. All right. So we talked about that. High value men, they don't want to be stepdads. My man sat me down and told me, and it's only because I grew up with him. He says, I know you. I know your family. I know who you are. I don't want a blended family. You have to finish what you started. And then this is all I will do for you. That is how he talked to me. And I said, okay, wipe my tears. And I have been every day honoring what he told me. And he is a man of his word. And that's how we make it work. All right. So high value men don't want to be stepdads. And that's why he tells a lot of women, go back to your husband because you're asking a man to provide for another man's children. That just goes against our natural biology, ladies. Now, of course, there may be a special case out there. You all like to pick the one celebrity that got it right. But what about the rest of us? We have to live in the real world because Kevin Samuel said, your children are special to you. But to the market out here, it's just another mouth to feed. And it's tough to hear, but we have to rip the band-aid off. And this is what older women should be telling younger women. Someone asked me in the class yesterday, what do you think about a man who says, I want a baby first before marrying you? I cut it off immediately. I said, do not ever do that. You will carry that mark for the rest of your life. Do not do it. Werder says it's true. Yeah, and Lindbergh says the highest honor a woman gives the man is the ability to reproduce. So yes, ladies, if you're opening it up and giving it to everybody, why would a man think that that's special? Let me continue on. All right, so we talked about that woman with the two kids and the man that was cheating all of the time. And ultimately, ladies, you have to ask yourself, why am I tolerating this? Why am I accepting this? Okay. One time, two times, or if it's handled, people have agreements in relationships. It is none of my business. But if somebody is acting unruly and you stay with them, what does that say about you? All right. And he told her you put yourself in a pickle. All right. So let's continue on. The next call was the young lady who was engaged and they had just bought a house. She's known the man for 5 months. They've been engaged for about a month. And she was the one who said, I have a problem with the word cooperative. I have a problem with the word agreeable. She basically said, I want what I want. We're saving for a wedding because we just bought this big house. And I love that Kevin said, ladies, the wedding is for us. Men don't want the wedding. By the time they realize, okay, this is the one for me, they're like, all right, let's lock it down. Fine. You want a big party? Do that. But understand that he's already starting the relationship, giving you something that you want, that he doesn't want. So you saying, I don't like the word cooperative. I don't like the word obey. I don't like the word. Well, then you need to find someone again to get on your program. I don't believe the partner thing exists. I'm just going to flat out go on record and say that somebody has to lead. And ladies, if we're being honest with ourselves, when there's that bump in the night or the car is making funny noises or something is broken or we can't make ends meet or whatever, we're looking for someone to fill in and help us with that. So how dare you ask but refuse to get on the program? Just a thought. Killa says seniors and Killa says Maggie should be a requirement in school, seniors and college level. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that. Okay, so figure it out, ladies. If you are difficult, it's going to be harder for you. You can do what you want to. Nobody cares. But when you find yourself another year getting older and still single, maybe you can see some of the mistakes you've made in these women. All right. So we talked about this woman who says, I don't like the word cooperate. And he told her, you have a rebellious spirit. And being spoiled is fine if you're a little girl, but as a wife, ladies, it's not attractive. All right. We got to grow up. We got to mature. I was married at 25. I met my ex-husband at 18. He was my one college boyfriend, got married after. And I feel like I beat the buzzer because I wanted to get married before I was closer to 30 than I was 20. Now younger women are being told to take a whole decade to get something out of their system. And then they find themselves in their 30s or God forbid 40s and they're lost, unprepared, time wasted. That ship has sailed. You can't fix everything. All right. So the last one was, Kevin talking about that woman that called the three women that were on the Instagram, two younger women and that loud mouth woman who had two kids out of wedlock and she just kept making excuses. She was like, well, accidents happen. Well, things happen. And he called her on it. And ladies, I'm going to say children are not accidents. You did that because you wanted to. And so a big part of the problem I think that we have is that we keep expecting someone to understand. She kept saying, well, you understand. You know what I mean. Things happen. When you're just having a vibe with someone, that is so incredibly irresponsible and childish. And that woman was 37. And that's the shame. The older women are still out here trying to be fast and running the streets when we should be preparing the younger girls. So nobody's going to care. And ladies, why is nobody going to care? Because the men learned early and often, nobody's coming to rescue us. Nobody cares. If I want it, I'm going to have to get it out of the mud. And funnily enough, I even see this in the boys. Marcus is 17, and I don't know if we pulled up somewhere and there was a woman begging, how they hold the sign or whatever. And I said, "Oh, that's so sad." And he was like, "I don't care about her." And I said, "Marcus, she's a woman." He was like, "I don't know her. She's not my family. Why should I care?" Like, it literally just came out of him. So I feel like I'm raising the children to be considerate and be good kids, and I think they are. But my point is this, ladies: men from early on, they draw a very clean line, very clear line in the sand. Either you belong to me or you don't. And Marcus even said, he was like, "Why should I care? Is she you?" I was like, "Oh my goodness." So I like to stay in my ring of fire. All right. I know that I'm covered and protected. I know that I have people that I have prioritized. And so they look out for me. Ladies, you don't want to be out here in the cold. Winter is coming. Winter is here. And on the other side of that wall, it's just demise. And it pains me to say that. I don't want to see our women suffering, but we've got to get over this attitude and work with somebody and be agreeable. Yeah, Gillis, it's time for me to head out as well. I'm going to take Alex to church. MV says, that's the biggest red flag for me. Mari says it's frosting outside. Yes, absolutely. All right, so let me see. We talked about, younger women and older women. And young ladies, when you talk to older women, if you don't feel a sense of maturity, if you don't feel that there's wisdom there, and it doesn't have to be me, but your mothers, your aunties, if they're moving just like your friends, if they're trying to be your friends, if they're trying to date the same men that you're trying to date, that is not somebody that you can learn from. And it's a shame that women are doing that. I say walk away, and you may have to find another community. Love them from afar. I'm not saying cut people off, but not everyone has your best interest in mind. And because we women talk more than men, like Kevin said, you're going to hear a lot more from women than you will from men, because men observe and then they move accordingly. And they could be moving towards you or they could be moving away from you. And by the time you figure out what's going on, it's too late. You're welcome, Jessica. Lindbergh says there's no understanding older women in these streets and clubs. Absolutely. MV says in the modern age, chivalry is a liability, and Marcus has the right idea. You see what I mean, ladies? The men are supporting, the thought process. And I'm just telling you all a real world example. This happened and it shocked me. But if he's like this at 17, imagine him at 27. Imagine him at 37. Imagine him at 47. So a lot of these older women that are trying to get pity and attention from men in their age group, the men are ruthless, because they're like, where were you when you had the leverage, when you were telling everybody no, when you were shouting everybody down, when you were embarrassing everybody? You made your bed, sleep in it. And I'm the softie here. I'm like, good God. All right. So, ladies, you have one shot, okay? When you have the power, use your powers for good. Prioritize relationship, find a good man, and get out of this dating market, right? Kevin said, we're not mad at the men. We're really mad at the reality. And the truth is, ladies, it's the reality that we have created for ourselves. All right. So I just wanted to give you all my response. This episode, again, I linked it in the description. It's called Godfather Exposes the Big Lie. It was just released this past Friday. And so Alex is emailing me, make sure you're on your way. All right, Alex, I'm on my way. I'm going to pick him up and take him to service. So let's see, any announcements for me? We've already started the wife lesson, so registration is closed for that. I do have an event coming up in December. Ladies, if you would like to have better table manners and have me teach you how to elegantly dine, I am going to be having a dining masterclass at Neiman Marcus in the private dining room here in Atlanta. If you're in Atlanta or want to come to Atlanta, I would love to teach you. It's going to be 5 courses, 4 hours. I teach and you eat. In partnership with the executive chef, we can have whatever we want. Go to teachablemomentswithmaggie.com and you can use the code Maggie for $50 off. And then when you check out, there's an option to extend it for a spa day afterwards. I have a penthouse spa next to Neiman Marcus, and I have robes and slippers and snacks and all kind of stuff for you all. So if you don't have any self-care, this could be a good holiday gift for yourself. And then in the future, I haven't turned it on yet, but Lucy and I do teach the finishing school for the modern woman. I will open up registration very soon. That is going to be our flagship course. It will be in January. And this is where we teach women how to be the best version of themselves. If your mother didn't teach you, we have a graduation in April. But that is only for the ladies that have either already taken the course or will join us in January. And we have very generous donors in the community. It is no accident that this thumbnail is in front of a yacht. We are being sent on a luxury yacht houseboat cruise for our graduation weekend in April. So stay tuned for that. I'll let you all know when it's available. All right. So thank you. Mari says they're indifferent now. The men do not care because the women were in the streets when they had the power. All right. Everybody, thank you so much. And thank you. I miss him every day. I'm going to keep Kevin Samuel's name in the algorithm. He was incredibly kind and generous when I met with him, and I'm so grateful. He changed my life. So hopefully you all were able to learn. I am Maggie, the substitute teacher. You can find me on all platforms. I do stream every day. I make food and femininity content. So I hope this was helpful, and thank you, Laverne, and all the veterans. We had Marine, we had Navy in the chat. I know we have Air Force and Army, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. I appreciate you all so much. Tomorrow I will be cooking with Aisha, maybe a little bit later. I got, it's that time of year, all the annuals and all that stuff it's time to do. Make sure you take care of yourself before your benefits run out. All right, ladies and everyone, have a good one.